Yeah, I'm about 13 minutes late. I'm still working out the scheduling. I got caught up in some projects that I was working on, but um, I definitely wanted to step in and say hello. So Lizzie is not with me now as she was with me yesterday. She's very shy and she's very conscious about being made available to people. So, in respect to her, that's fine with her. Um, so, I'm going to take a minute to explain what I'm doing here in case you're new and get this up and going. So, my name is Anna Imagination. I am the world's biggest hippie. Hi! I have a shirt on that says Fearless Feminist. I've got this uber epic tattoo that says, as wild and as free as the wind and the rhapsody, which is what I wrote. And I put it here on my arm because it's for me. It's not for anybody else to see. It's for me because I needed to be reminded constantly that no matter what did happen to me today, now, and going forward, I am wild and I am free. And it's a reminder that no matter who I meet or where I go, this is where I belong, wild and free. And if anyone tries to take that away from me again, that's my huge red flag that says you really shouldn't be going this direction. So far, I have not needed it aside from just comfort and severe reassurance that I am now free. So, yesterday, I was having a PTSD trigger, and I realized that I needed to show myself obtusely that the situation I am in now is not the situation I was in years ago. So I was starting to have a panic attack, and when that happened, I realized the best way to show myself that it wasn't the same was by reaching out to people out there in the internet. And I realized while I was talking to you yesterday that this was huge. If I had known about this, if there had been something for me so that I could step out of my mental prison and talk to somebody, oh, that would have been huge. That would have been astronomical. And I realized that such a thing just doesn't exist. We have hotlines, we have phone calls, people can call, but that's not what people need. Not who are shut in, not like I was. And I was like that. I've been there. I was that way for 20 years. And it started off with fear and basic social anxiety. And I remember the first few times the social anxiety started to come up, I was in high school. That's how long I've been dealing with this. I'm 42 years old. And the first time I started to feel social anxiety was 16, 17, 18 years old, where it was definitely my senior year of high school. I was 17, 18. And I had received invitations and there were events going on in the school. And I wanted to go. I felt the excitement and the enthusiasm, and I was all hyped up. I was in drama class. I wanted to be an actress. I had plans to go travel the world. And I launched myself and threw myself out there. I wanted to be a travel agent and I wanted to work on airlines so I could travel. And I threw myself out there, and then I canceled. It started off with me canceling one event and then another and then another. And by the time my senior year was done, the only event that I had attended was my senior graduation. I was pregnant during my graduation. And 2 weeks later, I was forced to endure an abortion. That really messed me up. So my social anxiety exploded after that, and it just kept getting worse and worse. I was in a toxic situation with one of my owners. I was a slave, and I was imprisoned, and I had owners. A lot of people don't know that this lifestyle exists still, but it really does. we refer to some of these people as husbands, boyfriends, wives. Girls can do it. And fathers, brothers. I always had an owner. It's an ugly word. It really is an ugly word. And it's one that I recently, in my recovery, started using. And when I finally started using it, it was like this massive burden lifted off my shoulders because I was finally free to call them by their name. And it forced me into a perspective that I could no longer deny. And by accepting my perspective and my experience as my truth, it was literally the last bit of information I needed to click and to heal me. So my first owner was my father. And it was your traditional Republican, conformist Christian environment where, because I was his daughter, he owned me and he was responsible for me. And he picked out my husbands for me and determined who I should date. And although he didn't enforce it yet, the words he used did. And I resisted it. I absolutely went against it. I wanted to choose for myself. I didn't want him to make up my life choices for me. And then I got married, and there was so much pressure on me to have my father walk me down the aisle, but I'm a feminist. I don't do that shit. So I eloped because I refused to let my father walk me down the aisle. The second time I got married, I did do the big wedding, and I made it very clear that no man would walk me down an aisle to give me away like a cow. This really upset my family, and they made it very clear on my wedding day how much they disapproved. So, my brother was a huge part of my ownership as well, where I should be, what I should be doing, and even though he didn't have authority, he battled me a lot on the authority. And I remember hearing conversation with him where he was talking to my father about having me undergo medical exams, highly invasive medical exams, to see who I was sleeping with. Hearing that from an older brother was devastating. It was really devastating. And then the boyfriends were a no-brainer. I hate calling them boyfriends in relationships because they weren't. They were owners. It was made very clear when I entered into a situation with them that they were in charge, that I would obey and do as I was told, and there would be consequences. And this is where a lot of my life was spent in fear. And it was so much fear, so much all the time that I couldn't get out, so that I started to associate pain with people. And that by the time I was 20 years old, I was absolutely trapped in my mind. And it started off with a place that existed with no fear and a place that existed with fear. And it got smaller and smaller and smaller. And the place that existed with fear got bigger and bigger until I lived in a bedroom. And I couldn't even go to the bathroom across the hallway without having severe anxiety. And that is how I lived. One moment. I'm working while I talk to you. So that is adding a thank you. So that was hard. That was really hard for me. That was really, it was a big challenge. It was very, very difficult to get myself through that stage. And how do I explain it? How do I explain to you what it felt like? There was no hope. It was survival. And my first husband didn't know how to handle it, especially when I had a PTSD episode and he would trigger my PTSD and I would respond. And I had all these mental illnesses and he knew of none of them. So he was watching these mental illnesses, severe ones, unfold, and he had no idea what to do with any of them. And in turn, I would be, I would also be doing my thing on my side. And I would just be trying to survive it. The marriage imploded, and a month later, I was dating a friend of mine from high school who turned out to be a living monster. And his thing became, instead of abusing me, he would abuse my children to control me. And he would implement torture tactics on my children. And their punishment would increase or decrease in proportion to my obedience. So that in 2015, I hit rock bottom, and I finally was able to get a therapist. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, you're messed up, you need a therapist. You have to be at a certain point in your healing to even handle a therapist. And that's the problem. A lot of people, you have to heal 80% of the way, and then you'll be ready for a therapist to step in. And it always bothered me because up until you get ready for a therapist, up until you're at that point, you are alone, and that keeps you in the trauma. There is nothing available to those people within the first 80% of the work that needs to be done. And a therapist could reach out to you, but you are so distrusting and so broken that you're not even going to try a therapist. You are trapped by your own mind. And because our system is built so that it enables the system, it doesn't help people. We don't teach people at a younger age how to manage their mental health, which is what I do for a living. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. So that's my goal, is to, because I was somebody who was mentally ill, and I'm not now. I'm recovered, and I'm happy. I know better than anybody what the inside of your mind looks like. I lived there for 23 years. So I am giving you an official welcome to the Healing Garden. I'm going to be coming on every day around 11 o'clock to give you a walkthrough and show you what it is I do, what it is I offer. But I am looking for the people who are stuck in their own minds and they're beyond help right now. Because I was too. I was there. And I had so many different traumas happen to me that I have literally covered every trauma. When I did my intake and my therapist took a look at me, one of the things she said to me was, most people who come to us have one major trauma, maybe two. She's like, you have 7 major traumas. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't realize it then. I had no idea. And when I was all done with my recovery, she stepped back and she was just like, you should be dead. People who go through a fraction of the work you go through die. And it's because I was doing mental work at age 15 years old. I was doing philosophy studies and psychology, and that saved me. Because I was studying psychology so aggressively from the time I was 15 years old on, I was able to see things and understand the behavior around me. I was able to understand my own mind. And with that knowledge, I still was not able to reach a therapist. That is how dire my situation was. That's how bad my mental illness was. And now I'm sitting here recovered, and I'm going, well, now what? I've got all this information and all this knowledge. What am I supposed to do with it? And that's when I realized it belongs with you. My knowledge, my program, my information belongs to you, because I'm done with it. And the idea of wadding it all up and just tossing it in the garbage, I can't do that, because there are people out there who are still like I was. So I am, today actually, what I was just working on just now was my website, annashealinggarden.org. Woohoo! My number one just launched that for me, and now I'm gonna go in. You're gonna get there, and it's gonna be like an empty, just like this is under construction, but it's coming soon. annashealinggarden.org. And I have an email address, which is annashealinggarden@gmail.com. I have Fuck Trauma Fight, which is my Facebook group where I dig hard into ugly trauma. That is the area where I don't joke around with, let's make this gentle. I mean, these are warriors. To be blunt, people who are trapped in mental illness are warriors. So I am branding this. This is my this is my tent. This is my hippie home, and I am doing what I know to do, and that's mental illness. This is what I do. This is what I was born for. So I'm spending the next few weeks compiling everything, and I'm building this, and I'm inviting everybody. If you struggle with any kind of mental illness, any stages, come to me. Absolutely come to me. I have something for everybody. My primary target is 35 to 45-year-old women who are dealing with sex trauma of any kind, of any level. It does not have to be severe. To be blunt, it's all severe. But if you think it's not severe, but you want to talk, I'm here. I do have a lot of free sessions. I do offer a lottery so that once a month I take on a client and I work with them one-on-one as if they've purchased my full package. And so if you are in a financial hardship and you are waiting for a therapist, I'm here. I am not licensed. And I did that on purpose, because once you become licensed, you are obligated by... Yeah, I have a serious problem with the way it's being built. I have a lot of problems with our mental health department, and I plan on taking it down and replacing it with my program, because I've been through their program, and I saw all the flaws, all the many, multiple, billions of little flaws, even the parts that cause people mental illness. So I don't have a license. I just have 27 years of psychology, 27 years of philosophy, and 27 years of sociology, which I then accumulated, took, and applied, and it worked. So yeah, I know things about psychology that you can't learn in books. So it's a formal invitation. I am here every day at 11 o'clock to talk to people who are locked inside their homes. They are unable to get out. They think they're alone. I'm here every day at 11 o'clock to spend some time with you and to talk to you. My videos are going to stay short, about 30 minutes at first, because I'm not seeing... I'm just starting out, so there isn't a following yet. Once word catches on, then I'm going to be probably doing 1-hour sessions every day, group therapy, where I just talk to people. And it doesn't have to be about anything. It's just talking so that you can see for yourself that you're not alone and that there is mental help for you, even though you can't get to a therapist, that it is out there. So my name is Anna Imagination. I am the hippie in the tent. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I will see you tomorrow well, I don't know if I'm doing it on weekends yet. I'm still not sure about that. because then my daughter's home, and I do take Sundays, definitely Sundays, out for my mental health. So Saturdays I might spend somewhere else, but definitely Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. This is where I am. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I definitely will be here on Monday at 11 o'clock. Namaste. And every video is going to end with me going, how do I stop this? Believe it or not, I am not tech savvy. How do I stop this? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's an X. So, all right. I do like 4 videos a day. I do meditation at Meditation Beginners on my Facebook, Meditation for Beginners on my Facebook. I do Fuck Trauma Fight, and I do this. So I do live Facebook, I do Zoom, and I do YouTube. So with all of those resources, every one of them, I go, okay, now how do I stop this thing? And it takes me a while to figure out where it all is, and I found it. So, okay. All right then. So again, namaste.